Landfall was an adventuring guild founded in 5082, about 38 years ago, by a cheeky Leonin named Shraga Tempo, who had fled from Zulukara after their home was raided and destroyed by the Azantic Navy during the fallout of the Imric War. Landfall was noteworthy for its success in the midst of the Adendric apocalypse. At the time, most other Adendric guilds were either hemorrhaging members in combat while protecting landlocked cities, or fleeing to Mount Avalon to protect Eden City, and the other nearby cities, on the government's dime. Landfall, on the other hand, remained on the land near Famador, and successfully defended the city long enough for it to reinforce its walls. Landfall's success is commonly attributed to Famador's naturally defensible position along the coast, easy access to international trade, weapons, and reinforcement by sea, and a strong roster of mercenaries. This impressive roster, in turn, is commonly attributed to the guild's reputation for humanitarian aid, fair contracts, and charismatic leadership. Landfall was well-liked, and easily aggregated adventurers from smaller guilds that couldn't weather the apocalypse. Luck also seemed to play a non-trivial role in Landfall's success. The Cape was simply not attacked by monsters as often as most other settlements. In 5104, about 16 years ago, Shraga died from the lingering complications of a wound that he suffered during the raid decades earlier. The guild's healers were able to successfully manage and treat Shraga for many years after the complications were first discovered, but he eventually declined care, citing the scarcity of the resources needed to maintain his treatment. In his final years, Shraga trained his son, Darbin Tempo, to assume the role of guild leader. Darbin, 29 at the time of his father's death, assumed leadership and continued to operate the guild successfully for about a decade. Along the way, he met and married a lizard folk man named Finn Zanpalalex. Finn led a troubled life. He had fled Patakak after being orphaned by the Imric War, and grew up in the slums of Famador, dancing in and out of the legal system over the years. Finn's familiarity with the struggles of the city's impoverished proved to be helpful in establishing new welfare, housing, and rehabilitation programs. In 5113, about 7 years ago, Finn and Darbin attempted to have a child with the help of a magical procedure that allowed Finn to temporarily become female. Complications arose over the course of the pregnancy, and the child, Palela, was lost. These complications were magical and sophisticated in nature, and it may have been possible to save the child if they had been willing to spend a tremendous amount of time, money, and resources on rare treatments available in a larger city, like Eden City, Pi, or Liberty. But Darbin was hesitant to divert so many resources from those who needed it in Famador, citing his father's similar decision at the end of his life. In 5114, about 6 years ago, Landfall accepted a 2-year contract with the Adendric government to send many of their best mercenaries, including themselves, to Mount Avalon, where they would protect Eden City and its 6 neighboring flying cities, collectively called the Walled Garden. They cited a lack of funding as the primary cause for accepting this contract. In a public statement, Darbin Tempo proposed that with government funding, they could further improve their various welfare programs throughout Famador, potentially paving the way for renewed cooperation between the Adendric government and those they left behind. This contract was controversial. Many feared that without their strongest heroes physically present, the Landfall campus was in danger of falling to a sufficiently powerful monster attack. Darbin claimed that the Adendric government had promised to install a landfall window in Eden City, which would allow them to return to the campus quickly in the event of an attack. This window was never constructed. Others rejected the notion of cooperating with the Adendric government on ideological grounds, citing their abandonment of Famador and the other landlocked cities of Eden during the ascension of Ra. Darbin insisted that unless they intended to make a permanent enemy of the Walled Garden, cooperation was inevitable, and that by extending the first olive branch, they would be in a better position to influence Adendric policy moving forward. Others still claimed that Darbin was being manipulated by Finn, who simply sought to escape to a safe, comfortable life in Eden City in the wake of their miscarriage. Darbin refuted these claims, violently on one occasion, and insisted that he would sooner step down from the guild than misallocate guild resources for personal comfort. In 5115, about 5 years ago, the Landfall campus was attacked by a large flying monster, dubbed Witherwing by the survivors of the attack. The monster's destruction of the campus was swift and thorough, leaving fewer than 50 survivors. Survivors reported that Witherwing resembled a purple fire elemental in the shape of a large bird or dragon, and attacked with gouts of a sticky, flaming substance that clung to its victims. Two of the survivors reported seeing a skeletal shape beneath the flames of the creature's head. Finn, Darbin, Gigi, Bill, Francesca, and a few other guild members who had been assigned to Eden City returned to Famador 2 weeks after the attack, claiming that they had not even been informed of the attack and only learned about it when Bill attempted to contact a colleague back at the campus. In a public statement, they expressed tremendous frustration at the Edendric government for not informing them of the attack and for failing to install the promised landfall window. Moreover, they expressed enormous grief at the loss of life and security at the campus. The guild was officially disbanded the next morning. In the following winter season, Darbin and Finn invested most of what remained of the guild's wealth into rehabilitating and caring for the survivors of the attack. In particular, they funneled a tremendous amount of money into a communal living space for survivors in Famador, which came to be known as Fallen Lands. Following the dissolution of the guild, Finn and Darbin's lives largely became private. They resurfaced in the news briefly in the winter of 51-18, about a year and a half ago, when the Cyrillil court system denied their attempt to legally adopt a young dragonborn refugee, Lila, and had her extradited back to her homeland, Pi. Officially, the reason for the denial was Lila's involvement in an ongoing political feud. She was the daughter of a feudal lord named Thranaliax and had run away from home. Many suspected that Cyrillin had additional motives for the denial, including a political disdain for Landfall and a religious disapproval of same-sex parenting, despite its legality within Eden.